I think he finished all of Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn. So all the 2.x content.
Okay, it's actually time to change our plan already. Hello everyone, so here's the deal. I just finished patch 2.5, the true ending of A Realm Reborn. I was silly enough to think that the bit when the credits rolled the first time that was actually the ending. No, it is not.
No.
And, well, look, the way that patch 2.4 and 2.5 have went has basically made me reevaluate a few things of the game, reevaluate my plans, and I just have a lot of stuff to talk about. To the point where I don't want to just wait a week for a Heavensward video or something. No, I need to talk about this stuff goddamn right now, because the ending of A Realm Reborn is really, really, really good, and really in a way that is punching above what Blizzard have done recently. I don't mean recently, I mean like a long time recently.
Minor. Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the ending of A Realm Reborn. Now, it is very interesting, because you deal with the immediate Guardian threat by the time, 2.0 ends, right? That's hardly a spoiler, everyone can guess that. And then what you see after that is Square Enix, I suppose, no longer having to develop A Realm Reborn, while also having to provide patches, updating the interface and all of those things for FF14 Legacy. So as these patches roll on, you see them get better and better and better and better. And when I last checked in with you on FF14, I was at the very start of 2.4. Basically the start of the two-parter that's truly leading you into Heavensward.
The meat.
And now that I went through those two patches, just the things are different, and I've had to change my plan, because I said to you, I'm going to play this at my own pace. I'm not going to and that is still true. I'm not going to rush playing the game. I'm going to reprioritize other things so that I can play the damn game more. So that I'm there with you at the start of Endwalker, because goddammit, I'm completely in. The end, it's brilliant, right? And it was really.
He's actually at a loss for words. This is cute. I'm enjoying this. I think he was truly blown away by it, and I think a lot of us who tell people about A Realm Reborn, we tell them that it picks up, and we weren't kidding. They're like, "Oh, post-patch, A Realm Reborn is the worst." I'm like, well, some of it. Post-patch, A Realm Reborn, some of it, it was a little dry, but they cleaned it up a little bit. But it picks up. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. It picks up and it gets good. It gets really good. And I think that's why he's like beside himself right now, because he's probably feeling the post 2.5 ending euphoria.
Funny is so many people are saying, yeah, I know, and Heavensward's where it's truly brilliant. And that's the interesting thing. So I want to talk about it. So, I believe it's patch 2.3, you are founding, you're kind of like founding the Crystal Braves, and then there's the two-parter that is, just doing some things, right? Setting up things are going to take us into the Heavensward expansion. Now, before that, of course, you're dealing with the Dormans, there's the refugee crisis in Ul'dah, you see the likes of Teleji doing their thing, and you sort of see all of these pieces. And you get this interesting thing where, at the very start, you are wrapping up the primal threat, right? And then you're just kind of after that, you're doing things that really are just leading into Heavensward. You don't really know it at the time, because it actually just feels like one nice big long continuous story. Right. So basically what they end up doing is this really good job of setting up all of these little bits. And, there's
world building.
People say that like the patches are a filter, and I can maybe get that with like a little bit of 2.1, 2.2, when it's, it is a little bit slower, sure. But man, stuff really does come together, and I've been completely transfixed by it for the last 2 days. It has just been
comes together
now,
nicely.
I'm actually almost at a loss of words as to how I talk about this. Okay, the 50-minute episode that basically is the end of A Realm Reborn. Because that bit when it warns you to set some time aside because this cutscene is coming and it's going to be long, I'll maybe mention 1 or 2 spoilers way at the end of this video, so don't worry, and it'll be very clearly signposted. Wow, right? That cutscene is the bit where every single little thing that they have set up, they pay off, and they pay it all off in a very, very satisfying way. It is, it's just truly, it's really quite impressive, to be honest, how they managed to do that. And they do a good job of luring you into a false sense of security. Perhaps you, really believing in what another character is doing, to the point where when things go in an interesting fashion, you're really like, oh, I can completely see how this has happened now that it's happening. But that's not exactly, I thought it was all just more kind of straight when I was doing it first. But no, there's a whole bunch more has happened now. And it's just the confidence of the story too, to actually tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny. And this, I know to you FF people who've been here for a very long time, you're going to laugh at this stuff. But this, you have to understand, I'm coming from a World of Warcraft perspective.
Right.
They don't really, they tell so little of the story in the game. And it's so fragmented.
Are these actual cutscenes from the game?
Some of the Covenant campaign steps.
Wait a minute. Are these actual cutscenes from WoW, or is this some kind of a action book fan bit?
In the recent patch, they are technically related, but they feel so segmented from each other. Different characters, different everything. They don't really feel like they tie together that well.
Wait, what?
So you've got things like that going on. And then whenever it all does, it all really does happen. I'm not saying that everything needs to have basically a TV show at the end of it, like with ARR. I'm not saying that. But the best Blizzard can give you often is just...
that looks like a cutscene.
A minute and a half cinematic, a 2-minute cinematic, and sure, it might look expensive, but it's a cinematic that almost feels like it's like, ooh, mystery! Big, surprising, shocking event! But that's it. There's no lingering in things. There's no exploration of things. There's no... Well, just letting the story run out and having a reasonable runtime, and you actually seeing and experiencing the story in-game over a period of time. They just don't do that. It's wild. It's insane. I feel like the story of ARR, by the end of that, it has been wrapped up so much more satisfyingly than... Well, okay, let's see. It's so much more satisfying than 9.0 of Shadowlands, and more satisfying than 9.1. More satisfying than 8.3, for sure, because, we just defeated the big old god guy. We go back to Magni, he gives us 73 gold, pats us in the back and says, cheers, mate, thanks for saving Azeroth again, and that's it. So
I don't know what's going on here.
8.3.
This is all beyond my knowledge.
8.2.5, you could say, was good with the Sarfang stuff. Wasn't really that well supported by the overall long story that your character went on. It was more like a cool short film that they assembled outside outside of your core World of Warcraft experience. So that's a bit weird to think about, to be honest. More satisfying than 8.2, certainly than 8.1 and 8.0. Legion had a lot of a really big cool factor at the end, and it was telling such a, ambitious in terms of it's like a, a big anime thing, Space Satan's going to come and punch the planet. So that's cool.
What?
And that's where WoW is doing a good job staying in its lane. But compared to everything else that WoW's done since then, the end of ARR just tops it. Now, I'm sure WoW might have, little cinematic high points that are very cool. But, just as an overall story being told, no, not at all whatsoever.
Him just switching from WoW to this. I know it's all about art style, but it just seems like that WoW stuff was blurry. It just looked like it was out of focus. It was just so much anti-aliasing and just out of focus, blurry blobs of color. You go to this, and it looks like your eyes just focused. And I know it may not be, like I said, it's an art style thing, but I just so much prefer Final Fantasy XIV's art style over WoW, man. It just seems it's like that transition, what he just did there, really exemplified it.
However, is it anywhere close? Not even in the same ballpark. And you really see that happen in patch 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5 as things come together. Look, if you're an FF person, I have the first quest of Heaven's Ward is there, right, ready for me to do it. So you know where I am, you know the things that I've seen, you know the things that I know and the things that I don't know, and they've just done that thing where everything that has happened in ARR is satisfyingly tied off, but in a way where like, I have a fair idea where the story's going. I don't know exactly how it'll go, and I'm really excited. It just feels so much more continuous as a story, and how it's all woven together. And it's really taken the last half of the ARR patch content.
There's your spoiler.
And really seeing that all happen and seeing it through to feel that. I mean, I've known that because of what people have told me, right? And you know what I've experienced myself up to the last video. But now I feel like that extra little bit on top, right? And then everyone says that Heavensward absolutely clobbers it, which I mean I totally believe. Just,
well,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't like to use the words clobber.
And look, I know that the ARR patches do have their moments of not the strongest pacing. I know that when it's suddenly time to go to the Crystal Tower to do all of that it can feel like a little bit of a like, oh come on, I want to do that thing though, especially when. Like,
yeah, Crystal Tower does feel shoehorned since they changed it.
Of 2.5, where you really want to go to Ul'dah to that big celebration ceremony thing, but you got to go do the tower instead now. Mm-hmm. I do want to talk about the tower, actually, because I have no idea how they do this with their raids into the future. And with the tower, it had an interesting story. Like, I liked it overall. It wasn't the most, like, boom in terms of pacing or anything like that. But it was neat. And I actually felt like I understood so much more about like this raid and its stakes and all of that, because the way that they presented it was a bunch of quests where you learn about stuff. And then you and your people, you take your first step into it. You do the first wing of the raid. And then after that's done, you have some more stories. You learn some more things. Then you do the next bit. And that happens and happens and happens. And it's almost as if the raid is the mechanic, or the raid is like how they are telling the big points of the story that really need something that feels big and special. So it's like
little does he know.
It's either like they get the story for free when they do their raid, or the raid for free when they do their story. It's just they're so woven together in a natural way. And of course, when you're experiencing that content, anything other than the first time, well, you just queue up in the duty finder and you just do it, right? But as you're there in your first time, it just feels like this one integrated experience, this one big storyline. You start off, the raid, you get like a little cutscene taking you in, you go through whatever the wing is, and at the very end, you'll get like a narrative cinematic that, I mean, you'll get narrative cinematics that are so much longer than the ones that WoW does for its like big centerpiece raids, as you see the story. And sure, not every one of those might be the most like crazy balls to the wall cinematic where some big shocking thing happens is going to have the community talking for ages, but well, those things are all secondary to telling a story, and they actually do that, right? So I'll be very keen to see how they do those raid stories as time goes on, because I've got to say I like the way that they do it. And I also like how, I mean, there's not that much trash. I think that's pretty good. Now, I also do know that we're all running through there with like eye level 130-ish gear, right? So we totally outgear the stuff, and that's why it feels like, LFR or something, and it all just, these bosses melt. But another thing I really liked too was the hard versions of the previous Titans that I fought. That was really, really neat. A bit tricky readjusting the keyboard and mouse when I'd never played a ninja on keyboard and mouse, really. But those were really fun. And then I hear that there's these extreme versions, I think, of those fights with the primals that are like way more involved, that I think are supposed to be, I think it's canonically like a bard retelling an epic version of the fight.
The Wandering Minstrel.
That was a really cool way to do it. And I kind of like how those primal characters, they appear. They sort of like keep them relevant there. I just thought that was, I thought that was quite neat.
The Wandering Minstrel.
And man,
The Wandering Minstrel gives Square the license to just do just about anything they want with the primals and the bosses from the story. And it's a brilliant way of doing it because it gives them creative freedom to do anything they want. That's how they can make extremes. That's how they can make ultimates. That's how they can do all this stuff and not have to shoehorn the story to make it somehow Garuda came back and she's stronger. No, they don't have to do that. They just have to go with this whole Wandering Minstrel thing, and I think it was brilliant.
It's just, I'm sitting here being like, wow, this is... Like, the thing that World of Warcraft has is giving you a really big raid each patch, and having the dungeons that you can do if you like the WoW style of dungeons, and the WoW PvP that you can do if you like the WoW style of PvP. But comparing the Covenant campaigns, it's not fair. It feels cruel. it feels cruel. I know that's inherently a bit cruel to say, but it does feel cruel comparing the Covenant campaigns to what's being done here. And it did make me really realize one thing. Blizzard's whole gameplay first is something that they consistently misunderstand. Now, I can understand gameplay first in the context of some of Blizzard's older works and, you know, what they were doing there. But here's the thing. If it's going to be either choose story or choose gameplay, Blizzard always say they choose gameplay at the expense of story. And generally, we've all been like, well, yeah, it's a game. Gameplay's the bit that matters. But I think as we really try to understand what we enjoy about games, pure mechanical gameplay is a pretty limited way to think about it purely, right?
Really?
You know, maybe realizing that the thing that matters the most is the experience. You know, it's really that bigger experience. And I just have to wonder, do Blizzard need to recalibrate what gameplay first means? And I'll try to develop this thought more for like I want to do a video on the things that WoW can learn from FF because it could, and I really hope it does because
gameplay first could work. It's just it has to be completely thought through. From what I've been seeing and what people have been telling me and my limited experience with Blizzard is that they have to do a lot of stuff. Is that nothing truly is thought through completely. It's like half thought through, and then when people point that out, they ignore it. And then they have time through the expansion to patch through those half-thought things, and they fix them at the end of the expansion, and then a new expansion comes out. So you have to play an entire expansion with half-thought ideas, and it gets fixed at the end. That could be really frustrating. And I think that's why people are quitting.
That would be good for everyone who plays it, which will include me. But here's the thing. What if you go gameplay first, and you sacrifice story for some gameplay, but it turns out that the gameplay gains that you have earned via that sacrifice are actually less than the story gains that you sacrificed in choosing that smaller amount of gameplay? And then what if ultimately that actually results in an overall game experience that isn't as compelling to a player? And that's when I think about FF, because, you know, in these recent the recent patches that I've done, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, a lot of the MSQs not involve gameplay. I mean, there's bits, you go to Garuda, you do the big trial that
I agree with this.
You do that stuff, and those are cool. You do the Alliance raid, that was also quite cool. But a lot of the rest of it, wasn't some big gameplay moment. The 50-minute long cutscene, and I get, okay, that could be a bit extreme for some, could be a bit too much, fair enough. But it's the story that mattered, and it was the overall experience, and it is my character that is the game experience, and it's like, what is best for the story? Me controlling my character fighting, or my character talking to other characters, and us experiencing a story that way? And I just think turns out that you really do need to blend the two of them a lot more. You really do. And I guess that's the thing. There's so much of it doesn't have the gameplay as you're going through these patches, but you're really gripped by the story. You care about the characters. They've actually set things up in an interesting fashion. I mean, all of this stuff in Ul'dah surrounding political intrigue and refugees and stuff. And a few other elements as well that I won't really spoil. I mean, I can't even think how many hours the whole thing has been. It's been a decent few anyway, building all of this up. And it's like, imagine if Blizzard dedicated 6 hours of story to building up political intrigue in Stormwind. And you actually really felt like you understood Stormwind and really cared about it. And every nook and cranny, just every facet of it. And it was a really, really deep story. And they completely stuck the landing and just had you extremely impressed by the end, because that's what they've done with me in Ul'dah. I feel like...
I think he's going on this is an unfair kind of a competition, because Square Enix has been telling JRPG stories for years. Just like Blizzard has been building these great gameplay experiences for years, right? That's where they shine. I don't think Blizzard has ever been good at telling stories in any game they've done. Diablo, WoW, StarCraft, Warcraft. I think StarCraft did a decent job in their campaign, but Warcraft did a decent job. But I think overall, I really think I think Square Enix has the advantage here. They've been doing it a lot longer, and they've been doing it better. And they took that experience and they applied it to an MMO. And it really worked out in Final Fantasy XIV. It really wasn't the case in Final Fantasy XI if you think about it, right? Final Fantasy XI really didn't have as much of a story-based adventure as 14. But it's kind of unfair to Blizzard to do this, because Square Enix has kind of been good at this for a long time. So it's kind of natural for them. But they've shown that they don't have to do it, like in the Final Fantasy XI. But that doesn't excuse Blizzard. I mean, they still should do it. But it's kind of an unfair thing.
I almost know Ul'dah more than Stormwind, and it's very recently that I've properly started playing this game. I mean, I know a lot about Stormwind because I've been into the WoW lore for a long time, sure. But this, like, experiential feeling of a place via the in-game storytelling, it just goes to show that just this focus on making the city-states feel real, and them being willing to have storylines that don't involve killing things all the time. I mean, you look, as FF, it's an MMO, you do a lot of killing, but I mean, the story to combat ratio is so much different to World of Warcraft, and in a way where I just feel really connected to the world, and really connected to my character in a way that I haven't really been to my WoW character, other than knowing that it's my WoW character, and I like it, and I played it for a long time. It's just, yeah, I mean, wow. It has me thinking.
Wow.
It has me thinking. You know, it's either a thing of World of Warcraft needs to entirely reform what it does to try to compete with FF in these grounds, or it needs to go completely in the other direction and focus on itself as a setting and not really a big story. And that would mean doing way more just big, simple storylines and actually maybe even some more villains of the month or whatever, but then focusing in a lot more on player expression, on the smaller things in the world. It's that thing, right? Skyrim is a game that a lot of people love because of what they can do in it. It ends up to a lot of people feeling this kind of narrative sandbox, even though we could all say that the main storyline of Skyrim is really quite pants, or the main storyline of Oblivion is a bit pants, right? You know, we can all say those things, but those games are successful because they win, you know, they don't really win in narrative, but they win in like immersion and setting and that type of richness. And that's what really makes me wonder, is the best thing that Blizzard could do for now to really simplify, really simplify their story, and then, you know, try not to compete with FF on FF's ground because maybe FF will win there.
Okay.
And instead to compete on making the best big budget theme park MMO possible. Ideally with a few more sandbox.
Stop adding
you know
systems.
what I mean, right? It's like if you can't, there's a bit of if you
That'll
can't beat
help.
them, join them, but if you can't beat them and you can't really get close enough, well, why not try to win via another strategy?
I think that'll help them a lot if they stop focusing on
that,
all these
it's
new
just this
systems
weird
every
thing where
time.
it feels like WoW is kind of Destiny 2 in its endgame structure with loads of systems and weird things that I think most of the players don't care about, and then a storyline that they seem really self-serious about, but also like don't tell like a tenth as well as FF in so many cases, right? It's just, it's interesting. I don't know what's going on, especially considering that I think it's Creative Business Unit 3. I think they've got less budget than Blizzard does for World of Warcraft. And yeah, look, this is just one of these moments, and I suspect I'm going to have more of them as time goes on. It's one of those moments where I'm like, oh shit, that's been sitting there. It's been sitting there for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I have not known. I've heard, but I haven't known, and now I know.
We tried to tell you, Bellular.
And that just changes things up.
We tried to tell you.
Some thoughts in my plan then. Okay. Machinist. I'm going to roll Machinist pretty damn quick. I'm going to get that from 30 up to 50. Reason why is I really enjoy Ninja, but I also want to try something a bit different.
Machinist is awesome. Good choice.
Ninja can be a bit sweaty, especially as you get higher than I am right now. And I know that a lot of people who play Ninja do appreciate having something like Machinist that is a bit more like simple, fast-paced fun. I think that's what Machinist seems to be.
Machinist is awesome. You're going to love it.
In terms of content, I mean, stick around. Do stick around. There's going to be more with FF. I just want to go and play Heavensward now. And
You should.
I want to share the ride with you. That's what I want to do, right? So, yeah, things are going to be faster. That's just how it's going to be. And it has to be because I need to reprioritize other things so that I can play more FF. That has happened. I've somewhat been got, I suppose. Another thing.
I have been there, man. I gotta reprioritize things so that I can play more Final Fantasy. I have been in that exact scenario.
I will say, it has been nice getting all those tombstones of poetics and then being able to get the ironwork set for my character, and then by the time my machinist hits 50, because of the roulettes and stuff, it should have enough to also get that set. I know that set's like pretty nice to have as you're going to Heavensward, so there's that. And really with that said, that is that's really most of it, bar the spoiler stuff. For my talking points and just things I wanted to share with you now that this has happened and it's all bouncing around my head and I need to get it out. And with that said, spoilers! Spoiler time. I'm not going to go into any really deep things. I'll just say I really like how Alphano has went through all of this content. I just like it. He's doing his plans. He's trying to be a sort of a grander statesman or whatever, and just seeing how it all turns out. It's neat. It feels like that's a character that's actually going to learn and grow a lot, and that's just cool. So that's really cool. Crystal Braves. You always hear the bits of dialogue, people being worried about them accepting the Syndicate's money, the worries about the monetarists. And
Alphano has a great character development. I agree.
Think, oh yeah, there's going to be...
I think, and I actually watched other WoW players play through the story, and they groan when Alphano shows up because of how his character is developed. And by the end of A Realm Reborn, you start to really, really like him because of what he's learned.
Some corrupt people in the ranks. It's not going to be that bad, though. And then when it flips on you, it's like, oh, fuck. Oh,
wow.
Right?
Wow.
Especially when Ilberd.
Sloppy.
Or Ilberd, whatever, when he, betrays as well. It's such a well-orchestrated twist. It really is, because it doesn't come out of nowhere. You're just really lured into a false sense of security, right?
Yep.
That's really strong, and they just execute it really well. And then, I mean,
all I can keep saying is,
what's going to go on? Thancred and Philia and Shtola, all of the others too. Like, what's going to happen with them? I mean, they couldn't all be dead. I mean, I know that I've seen the other cinematic, but still, I mean, the way all of that happens.
They can't be dead. I've already seen the other cinematic.
You're like, oh shit. And just like the whole way that 50 minutes goes down, where it's like it starts and, so I mean, I knew that she was being poisoned from the time she was coughing and the way that they introduced the servant character. So it's like, I knew she was being poisoned. I wasn't that surprised at all by that. Because I mean, I think that's supposed to be pretty obvious. The Telegi's doing stuff, like he's doing shit. But just the way that it unfolds, it's like they shoot it quite well. They tell it quite well. They pace it quite well within that 50 minutes. You being incarcerated, then then it gets into the rest of the cutscene, right? The Alphano, he gets held up by his boys, by the Crystal Braves. Then I mean, Roban just. He's so pissed off it goes red.
That face, there it is.
Sounds, but
there's that face.
You're like, oh yeah.
This is why we hate Lalafels. Not we, I don't hate them. But this is why people hate Lalafels, man. Not because they're potatoes, but because of Telegi. Telegi was the embodiment of like, oh my goodness, could you please just stop? And it's like this whole, you'll learn in the Realm Reborn and even other, it's just very few Lalafels in the story are actually appealing. There's not a lot of them. They're a handful, man. This is why people don't like Lalafels. It's just they're evil. Yeah. That's one tale.
Of course, it's Robana. This is exactly what I would expect. I now know where his arm went. That's another thing. Just like
now I know where his arm went.
The pacing, and then suddenly you and all your friends are running for your life, and you get out with Alphano, and the friggin' merchant guy is there. He takes
the
you
merchant
away, and
guy.
like, this is
full circle.
It's all wrapped up.
Yep.
It's all wrapped up really well, but
that's the best. I think that was one of the best things they did, man. They went complete full circle. When you arrive with the merchant,
in a way where there's
you leave
like
with them.
So many places it could go, and you're... Yes, that was all done really, really, really well. God damn it. What can I say? I'm in. I think I need to end this video and go. And, I mean, top prize for what I'm going to go and do next. I shouldn't have said that. There's going to be some rather silly comments about that, isn't there? Ah, well. So, look, subscribe to the channel. We're going hard here. That's just how it's going to be. This whole game, this whole situation, all deserves it. There will be content for other games as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'd be lying if I said it was going to be extremely balanced for the next 2 months.
Rename the game or rename your channel.
Reasons.
He just created this new channel and they got partnered with YouTube, so congratulations to Bellular. But rename the channel to Bellular Plays or Bellular Final Fantasy because he called it Bellular Gaming, which is safe. I think that's a safe thing to do, call it Bellular Gaming. But it's like, man, he's going to be playing quite a bit of Final Fantasy, quite a bit. So I'm glad he enjoyed it. And I've been saying it. You guys have been saying it. Final Fantasy fans have been saying it. The end of Realm Reborn is really, really good. And people like to trash the game. I'm like, listen, or try to trash Realm Reborn. I'm like, the pacing is terrible. I agree with you there. Pacing is awful. But you got world building, you got character building, and you got a great climax. What more can you ask for? And then it leads into Heavensward, Stormblood, and Shadowbringers, and now Endwalker coming. Thanks, Bellular, for that video. And yeah, we're going to see a lot. I mean, I knew he was going to like it. He was impressed by stuff that I generally wasn't impressed by. I'm like, if you like this, wait till you get to 2.4. That's what I was thinking to myself. Wait till you get to 2.4. Wait till you get to 2.5. Bellular, wait. And he's there. He's there. Take care, guys. Great video. Great video by Bellular. I'll put the link in the show description. You can check him out. Go subscribe. Go like the video. Check him out. I'm out. Bye.